Welcome to another edition of Be Well Together. Today we are so lucky. Today we have Tara Brach with us, and this just delights me beyond compare, because my first entry into mindfulness and meditation was because of the genius of Tara. And so this is just so exciting to have her here. She's an internationally known meditation teacher and psychologist, and she is the author of two books, Radical Acceptance and Radical Compassion. And I, like 2.8 million other people, download her podcast every single month. So she actually partners with another good friend of our Ohana, Jack Cornfield, to lead the Mindfulness Meditation Teacher Certification Program, which is available in over 50 countries. So it's pretty cool. And today she is going to be walking us through her RAIN methodology. And then she's going to lead us in a very soothing meditation. So Tara, thank you for being on Be Well Together.
Thank you for the welcome, Jody. And thank you, Salesforce people, for being part of this. It's really fun to be with you. So as Jody said, we'll take some time to explore how mindfulness can help us find some resilience and balance and calm amidst the storm. And even though the current crisis, it's impacting people in different ways. We're all living in an altered world. Last month, I did get this cartoon with Sisyphus, who's sitting at home, of course, with his laptop and this huge boulder at rest on the couch next to him. And he's, of course, looking really confused. And wow, so working with so many people, I've heard so much about the different ways confusion or anxiety is really spiking, but other emotions too. I just did a 2-part series on loneliness because, wow, this pandemic's a setup, and also self-criticism. I'm falling short as a parent, or I'm not helping others as much, or I'm not using my time well, or I'm angry and reactive all the time now with my partner. And of course, it's not all pain. One woman writes about being an extrovert. Just finally, we are experiencing a world that's suited for us. All the events are canceled. No one's making random small talk or having to have physical contact. Everybody's minding their own business. So, depending on our temperaments, we're handling it differently. But I'm also finding, and this is where we'll spend our time together, that these times can be a very profound wake-up of consciousness, personally and spiritually in a deep way, reconnecting with what really matters to us. There's that Zen saying that the most important thing is remembering the most important thing. And so it is that we start remembering that we care, and we remember that we really want to feel our connection with each other. And there's that amazing inspiration of the generosity that's going out to people who are most vulnerable right now. And so intense times, we can end up really finding our creativity and opening our hearts. And there's something about, and you've probably seen this in your own life, that when things fall apart, it can bring out the best in us. And of course, this is true through the evolution of the species. And I think about, it was 10 to 20,000 years ago that in our evolution, humans had this real leap when we became actually collaborative. When our caring went beyond kin groups to other people. And that's what crisis can do, is that we can open up beyond our habitual ways of paying attention and start including others in our heart in a really deep way. So what's clear right now, and I think many of you are noticing, is that our fear and reactivity can be contagious, and so can calmness and generosity and open-heartedness. And many of you are probably familiar. I'll just bring it in because I love the spirit of it. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh talks about how the crowded Vietnamese refugee boats would meet with storms or pirates, and if everybody panicked, it would all be lost, But if one person on the boat remained calm and centered, open-hearted, that was enough. It showed the way for everyone to survive. So I think our inquiry is, how do we be that person, for ourselves, for our own healing and freedom, and for our dear ones, and for the world? How do we be that person? And you might just even ask yourself right now, like, what do you want called forth in you through this? What are the qualities of your being you really want to wake up? And so as you consider that, what we'll be looking at is how we can shift from what our survival brain does when we hit crisis, which is fight, flight, freeze. We react. That's the first kind of immediate reflex. How do we shift from that to responding from our intelligence and from our heart, from our creativity? That's the shift I want to look at. And one of the great kind of classic stories that describes this shift is from the Buddhist tradition. And the Buddha would be teaching in these big fields with hundreds of people. And periodically, Mara, who is the god of the shadow side, Mara is kind of our survival brain in action when we get, when hatred comes, or anger, or fear. Well, Mara would start lurking around the sidelines, the edges of the crowd. And the Buddha's loyal attendant, Ananda, would really be alarmed. You'd go, oh no, Mara's here, the shadow side has come. But the Buddha had a different response. He said, he'd walk over to Mara and say, I see you, Mara. Come, let's have tea. And that has all the sophistication and depth of what we know in terms of our psyche and our spirit, that if when difficult things arise, we can pause and just see them and have tea, engage with them with kindness, then we awaken from their grip. So that's what we're going to look at, the ways that mindfulness and heartfulness can awaken us from the grip of the shadow, from the fear and the reactivity. And as Jody mentioned, the tool we'll use is the RAIN meditation. And RAIN is simply a mix of mindfulness and compassion. But the reason it's become so popular is because when we get stuck and reactive, it's almost like that's when we most need to meditate. And that's when everything about meditation goes out the window. We don't remember anything. So RAIN gives us an easy 4-step way to come back home. The R is to recognize. A is to allow. I is to investigate, to contact what's here in our bodies. And the N is to nurture. And then in what I call after the RAIN, that's when we can sense a shift from this contracted, reactive self to much more spacious, open-hearted presence. Maybe what I'll do as a way to give you a feeling for RAIN is share a personal story, just the way this pandemic has impacted me. I first, about a month ago, opened to the full magnitude of it, and it came in a very personal way because my daughter-in-law, pregnant with a young child, and with her husband, my son, and lives with her father-in-law, my ex, who's also a dear friend with a heart condition. Well, she's working at a major hospital, and as you know, protective equipment, especially a month ago, they barely had anything. So it was high risk. And I was feeling, the fear around that. And then I started getting how many people were vulnerable and how many people were at risk. And then I started thinking about people in prisons, and as we know, it's just a horror story. What a hotbed of the prisons are. And I was thinking about refugees and people losing any financial stability. So I was agitated. So there I was, and I meditate often by the river here in Virginia, and I was just, all I could think of was, okay, rain, first step, R, recognize. And so I just recognize fear. And with recognize, it's very helpful just to whisper it, a mental whisper, fear. Because if you can name something, you start waking up from its grip. You start getting more spacious. And there's research on that, which is really interesting. If you can name a difficult emotion, it actually reduces it. So that was the first thing, is to recognize. And then allow means not that you like it, not that you're embracing it at that moment, but you're just willing to let it be there. You're not going to judge it or try to fix it or ignore it. Just means allowing that to be there. And for me, I often will say, this belongs. It's like, it's a wave in the ocean. It belongs. It's part of things. So that's allow. Investigate. It's not cognitive. Investigate. You might ask a question like, what am I believing when this is happening? But you're finding it in your body. Our issues are in our tissues. So with investigate, we're feeling how the body's experiencing it. And for me, it was a twisting and clutching at the heart area. And with investigate, I really advise putting your hand where you feel it, because that helps to keep the attention there in a way that actually leads to healing. So I had my hand on my heart and I was feeling the clutch that was there right into the epicenter, And then part of investigating is sensing, well, what's needed? What does this fearful place really need? And for me, and it's always some form of nurture, some form of love. And for me, it was this feeling of belonging to something larger. That would create the safety and the feeling of being protected, just to feel loved by something larger. So I just imagined, really from this formless universe, the love of the universe kind of washing in and bathing this place of fear, and just trying to let it in and let it in. And that's the trick, is to give yourself the gift of really, okay, let it in. That nurturing really softened and loosened. I could kind of like dissolve into that larger field of loving after the rain. Those moments are when I could sense, okay, I'm no longer caught in the story of a fearful self. I'm kind of resting in this heart space. And what became clear to me, and this was really powerful, was it wasn't my fear. It was the world's fear. It's like fear is nature's protector. And what was moving through this body mind was the world's fear. And we're all feeling that. And in those moments of resting in a more spacious kind of heart space and sensing this, the world's fear, is a lot of healing. And of course, I have to keep redoing it. The trick with rain is it's never a one shot, but every time you do it, you get a little more of a kind of opening. It comes more easily, and a remembrance of, okay, I don't have to be caught inside the waves of fear. I can be the ocean. So that's the freedom. I've done rain with many, many people. Just recently with one man who was having to lay off a lot of his staff. And for him, the nurturing came, he was feeling so bad about it, and feeling a lot of fear about how much more was going to happen, was just to say to the fearful place, thank you for trying to protect me. You might try that. Thank you for trying to protect me. I'm doing the best I can. I'm here, I'm paying attention. Thank you. Because every emotion is trying to help us in some way. So, as I mentioned, when we most need to meditate, we forget what to do. And rain is an easy 4-step process of coming back home to ourselves again. And I've got a lot of resources on rain if you find it helpful on my website. They're all free. And my book, Radical Compassion, is a guidebook on how to use rain. But the gift really is when you come home to yourself, then you can respond, not react to your world. So it ripples out. For one man, he was struggling with his anger, with his family, work, and he started practicing rain. And he found that when anger would start arising, if he could recognize it, say, okay, anger, and allow it and breathe with it and feel it, he could interrupt sometimes, but other times he'd still lash out, but his percentages were getting better, that he actually could respond, not react. And he shared with me one particular situation where he had been meeting with a project manager who admitted that the team was behind schedule on a major project and that he had personally let some things fall through the cracks. Now, this was exactly the kind of situation where the man I was talking about that was learning rain would have pounced. And he did. He felt this rising irritation. But instead of pouncing, he just mentally, okay, anger, and he paused and he breathed with it and he said to himself, it's okay, it's okay. He didn't blow up. Instead, his presence kind of deepened and he took the guy in a little more and kind of appreciated his honesty and sensed him kind of as he was burdened in some way. So not only did he not pounce, he expressed his appreciation for the guy, which of course caught this manager off guard because he was so used to this boss being really, really temperamental. And he said to him, I didn't plan to tell you this. And he had tears in his eyes. He said, my wife has stage 4 breast cancer and I have 2 teens and it's just a really tough time. Well, these guys hugged, which had not happened for the man I'm telling you about. And he told me that a month earlier, he would have unwittingly added to this man's burden by getting angry and shut down any possibility for contact. And that he felt like a real human being by just being with him. And I share this with you because not everybody we get angry at has gone through a horrific loss or is going through that. But the truth is, everybody is insecure and vulnerable, not just during crisis time. You know, there's that beautiful saying, be kind, everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. And what if we could move forward through these pandemic times and beyond, and when we're with others, be able to pause and really wonder, well, what's it like for you? And relate from our hearts, rather than from habit, rather than reactivity. So if you know how to connect with your inner life, if you know how to bring rain to difficulty, you're really upping the percentage of moments that you can then come through being who you really want to be, you know, that the person on the boat when you're with others. So enough talking about, let's practice rain together. I'd love to have you get a taste of it if you haven't before. You might, if you're sitting or in whatever position you are, just check your sitting posture so you're in a way of being alert, that you're upright, but relaxed, at ease. And you might close your eyes. And let's take a few full deep breaths together, inhaling slowly, filling the chest and the lungs. And then a slow, even out breath, releasing, letting go, letting go. And then inhale again, a nice deep full in-breath. And then a slow out breath. Just feel the sensations of the breath leaving the nostrils, letting go, letting go. One more time. Inhale deeply. Then a slow out breath. Feel the sensations of letting go, letting go. And then allowing the breath to resume in its natural rhythm. And just sensing the quality of presence that's right here. And taking some moments now to scan your life, to sense a situation that's bringing up fear or agitation, perhaps something about the current crisis in our world, something to do with a relationship, maybe something to do with work or finances or your own health or the well-being of someone else. Choose some place where you're feeling reactive, maybe fear or anger, hurt, shame. Not a reaction that feels traumatic, because it won't be helpful to do a short meditation on that. But where you feel like you get stuck, where you get caught in anxiety or anger. And to help you get in touch with the feelings, bring the situation and the triggers that really close in. So if it's a past situation or something you can imagine happening in the future that's getting you anxious. And so you can actually see what's going on. And if there's another person involved, to see their face, their words that are spoken, to hear them. And sense, what's the worst part about this? What are you most distressed by? In the R of rain, recognize, just sense whatever feeling is most predominant right now. And mentally whisper whatever you notice. Might be fear, worry, anxiety, anger. If there are a few, just pick whatever's most calling for your attention. The allowing simply to feel the willingness to let it be here right now. So you're not leaving in some way. You're just letting it be there. You might do what I do and just say, this belongs. Just part of things right now. It's part of reality in these moments. Investigating is not cognitive. It's primarily in the body. So again, remind yourself of what's most distressing. What are you most afraid is going to happen? As you let yourself go to that, sense how your body feels that experience. And check your throat, chest, your belly. And you might experiment, and this is so powerful. Put your hand wherever you feel sensations the most. What are the sensations feeling like? Is it tightness or pressure, ache, squeezing, twisting? Again, sensing what is it you're most upset about? What's the worst that can happen? And what does it feel like in your body when you connect with that? Where are the feelings the strongest? If it helps to breathe with what you're feeling, do that. You might let your facial expression match what you're feeling. Experiment with that. And even your posture, you can exaggerate your posture now to kind of express the feeling. And that'll help you actually contact it as you're investigating and feeling what it's like. You might sense right to the epicenter of where the feelings are, just to really allow yourself to feel that and ask the place of vulnerability. What do you most need? Or maybe it's, how do you want me to be with you? Does it need understanding, acceptance, company, love, to be held by something larger? As you ask, find that you're listening to what it needs from your most awake and wise heart. And as you sense what might be needed, what might bring some healing, respond by offering some care inwardly, some gesture of care, a message perhaps. You're okay. I'm here and I'm not leaving. Or thank you for trying to protect me. Or you're held in love. What message would be helpful? As you offer a message, feel the touch of your hand, perhaps on your heart or your throat, and let the touch be tender so your touch communicates care. And if this is new for you, it's a powerful experiment in healing. And you might imagine, as I did, that just love and light and warmth is just flowing into you, like bathing you from this larger world. Or you might sense somebody that you trust and love, that it's coming through them, through a friend or parent, grandparent, a spiritual figure. Let yourself have that gift of letting in. Invite yourself to let in love, to imagine it, to feel it flowing in you, right to the place that feels most vulnerable. So you can kind of relax, dissolve into that loving space, let go some. Letting love into the cells and the spaces between the cells, washing your whole being. We move into after the rain by sensing the presence that's here. Just notice the difference between the sense of yourself when you started, the angry self or the scared self, to this more spacious presence. And for some, it might be just a bit more spacious. And for others, it might be really vast and tender. Whichever way, just sense this is the heart space of the world. Holding the world's fears, the world's hurt in your heart. And you might imagine with somebody you're going to be with soon, how you could bring this heart space and presence and in some way engage from your tenderness, from your care. In this way, we become the one on the boat, really living from our most awake awareness, our most awake heart. As a way of closing, just a reminder that whatever you practice grows stronger. So if whenever difficulty arises over these next days and weeks and months, you even have a light rain where you pause and just name it and bring some attention and then kindness inwardly, you'll start finding that your habits shift towards being the person you most want to be. I'll end with a brief quote. This is L.R. Nost. He says, "Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break, and all things can be mended, not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you.
Wow. Thank you. That was really very helpful for me this afternoon. I really, really appreciate your time. We are very grateful for you, Tara, and the light that you bring to all of our ohana. So thank you. Everyone, be happy, be healthy, and be well.